All right, we are live. At least I hope that is actually the case. We have a few things to talk about. Well, buenas first and foremost. Why is this asking me to sign into chat? I don't know, but I'm gonna check right away over here. Make sure everything is okay. Buenas, buenas. Either way, I normally chat from my phone. Makes it a little bit easier for me. So, buenas. Hi. How's everyone doing? I hope better than we are right now over here with this energy crisis. Let me know if the audio is okay because I found a workaround. Before I was connecting my audio to my phone since that was where the video source was coming from. So I figured connecting it to the phone and then letting it come from there was best. But I realized that that wasn't working. So now I've connected it directly to the laptop, which is where OBS is. So that way I figure the audio is going to be a little bit better over there. All right, cool. The audio is coming out good over here. Saludos. Kathy can't listen live today, boarded a plane. I hope that your flight goes amazingly. Have a safe flight, a nice trip. We do have to talk about, of course, like you said, electricity and crime and the economic impact. That's actually something that, ironically, my good friend Luis of Ecuador, he actually made a video yesterday. We're gonna look through it maybe a little bit, so we can check that out. Let's see here. The stream's current bitrate is higher than the recommended. Let me see if I can modify that. Robert, how's it going? Todo bien? Everything good? Remember, typical expression over here that people say, todo bien, everything's good, or everything good. Like when someone asks you, how are you? You just say, todo bien. And that's really normal for people to say. It's like when someone in English, they ask you, what's up? And you say, nothing. When it's really a lot of things, but it's just like everything good. So, todo bien. Magic, buenos dias, good morning. Joshua, hello, how's it going? Isabella, good morning. Saludos. My mom has been trying to travel to Durango, Guayaquil, but she is afraid of the crime. I think most people are afraid of the situation with crime, especially when we talk about a city like Guayaquil. I would just to give a quick, I guess, recommendation, not really a recommendation, but just, I guess, a tip. If you have someone who's already there, like someone that you know, specifically, especially if they're an Ecuadorian, most things will be fine. I always figure that when you're with someone who knows the city, who knows the area, who is with you the whole time, there's much less chance of something not good happening. So that's just, my suggestion, my tip. Be with someone who knows the area, be with someone who's going to be with you the whole time, and everything should be fine. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, I do have Lewis's video loaded up over here. You're going to see if we can watch it. Also, I'm going to see if I can modify the bit rate because it's saying that it's higher than it should be, which is weird because I thought everything was good. Let's see here. Let's see if we can modify it to that. Okay. I hope it doesn't do anything weird to the stream. So yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. We're going to talk about a few things that I wrote down over here today. Todo bien, Robert. So we're going to start off with the schedules for the blackouts. And something weird that happened today and is happening today too. That happened yesterday and is happening today too. In regards to the planned blackout schedule. Technically, this is part of my schedule right now, where I'm supposed to, have power, and then afterwards there's gonna be a part where I'm not gonna have power. But weirdly enough, yesterday and today we had power all day. Yesterday I was traumatized all day. I was really concerned because when the power didn't go out, it was like, why didn't the power go out? So I assumed, okay, maybe they postponed it for like an hour later. And then an hour later, the power still didn't go out. So I was like, it's not normal, especially during this energy crisis, for the power to not be going out. So I spent the whole day pretty much assuming that the next hour, the power was going to go out. The next hour, the power was going to go out. If I would have known the power wasn't going to go out yesterday, I might have just done this stream yesterday and we would have already talked about everything yesterday. Although I'm kind of glad I didn't, because throughout the day, during the day, that was when Lewis's video came out. And I was like, man, this is a good video. That's why I shared it on my community tab. If you haven't watched it, I do recommend you watch it. Although we're going to watch some of it together. So that we can discuss a little bit of what we're seeing there. And of course, to give a little bit of a stark difference between what his city looks like and what my city looks like. Because I'm always, I even sent him a message through WhatsApp to Lewis. And I told him, like, it's always so refreshing to see how nice Cuenca looks. Because it's just very different from what I see over here. But anyways, yeah. So my schedule yesterday didn't happen. Today didn't happen. Isn't gonna happen actually because we're still in today. And I have a little bit of an explanation for that. I didn't have one yesterday, so I guess it's another good thing why we're here today. But I have one today. So to begin with, let me see this comment. Racing Ape, hello, how's it going? Buenas. Todo bien. With all the possibility of using solar and having hydropower to balance the grid, instead of having hydro being the main power source, are you seeing more solar power being built by the government? I'm not seeing it. Everyone talks about it. And we will have to talk about that in a bit. Everyone talks about it, but we're not seeing it happen. And it's part of the frustration that we have with this whole energy crisis, because it's not like this is something that we just found out during the presidential campaign of Daniel Noboa. And I'm going to have to go into that topic a little bit later on, because I've seen some comments about me supporting Daniel Noboa, or me being Noboista, if you want to call Daniel Noboa supporter that. But we have to talk about that a little bit more in depth. But yeah, we all want there to be diversification of the power of the energy grid, but it just has not happened yet. Not to the extent that we would need in order to resolve the situation here in the country. So going back to my rationing, the explanation that I managed to get from someone political, not even directly through me, we got this information from someone who was talking to my dad. He's like my dad's like my greatest source of information. He's always keeping up to date with everything, and he always has contacts, people who will go to the business or who will, you know, talk to him a little bit and tell him about what's happening. Because, you know, we all want to know. Like, when you want to know, you ask the people who know. And the people who know right now are either people who are working in one of these power, I guess the electric companies, or people who are in the government. So basically, what's happened is that on Friday, first of all, we had the full rationing, the full 14 hours, and that schedule was horrible. We had the power outage from 5 until 9 in the morning. Then we had power outage again from 12 to 4 p.m. And then again at 7 p.m. until 12. And that was terrible because, like, if you realize there's just like short amounts of time, short bursts in between where you actually have power and you have to like take advantage of it. The good thing was that since it's scheduled, like, you know when it's going to happen, so you know, disconnect your things, don't use this, don't do that. But when you don't know, which is what happened to me yesterday, I was like, I don't know if I should connect my things. I don't know if I should start doing something because then afterwards the power is going to go out. I modified my eating schedule because if I eat at the time that I normally eat, the power goes out in the middle of me eating because first I have to cook my food. So it's very stressful and very, it keeps you like on your toes in a way that you shouldn't really need to be on your toes for. So, yeah, it was annoying to say the least. But yesterday that didn't happen. There was no power outages, and now that I know that today it's not going to happen, we're good. And apparently the reason why we're not having outages yesterday and today is because we've been like, at least our sector of the city has been fulfilling their power outage schedule the whole time. Like we've had power outages, and we've even had days where our power outages have been even longer than they were supposed to be. There was one that we had during the week. I even posted a photo to X, and I tagged the Daniel Noboa and the energy minister page, which was pointless anyways because they're not going to reply to me, especially since I sent this post in English. But we lost power, and we're supposed to get it back at like 10. This was before the 14 hours. We were supposed to get it back at 10, and the power came back like at 10:40. So you kind of like psychologically have like this countdown. You're like, okay, it's about to be 10, power's about to come back on. Okay, you start like getting ready for it. And when it didn't come back, I was like, okay, maybe it's going to take 5 more minutes. Okay, maybe it's going to take 10 more minutes. But then after that, it was just straight frustration because we did not know at what time the power was going to come back. And the power came back at 10:40. That sucked. But anyways, we've been fulfilling our power rationing schedule. Our planned blackouts have been like perfect. We've been having them. We've had more than normal. So apparently someone complained. There was a complaint. And because we've been so dedicated to our schedule, like we've had it. It's not like we can choose to do it, but like we've been doing it correctly. And there's other places in the country that haven't had consistent power outages. Obviously, some are because they're in certain zones, which I feel like we do need to talk about. I think I'll put that as a topic over here, talk about zones with power. But since we had been doing it like consistently, we haven't had any breaks. We got a break this weekend. Yesterday and today, we don't have outages, which is nice. We don't have to like worry too much about that, at least these 2 days. I'm okay with that for now. I'm kind of not okay with it because it doesn't seem fair at the same time, but I'm okay with it because like it's convenient for me to have power. Who's gonna complain about having power? But yeah, that is the situation. Apparently, if you know who to talk to and you complain enough, things happen. This kind of sounds like the Ecuadorian expression, el que no llora, no mama. He who does not cry does not get breastfed, would be the translation pretty much. But basically, if you don't say anything, then nothing happens, which is the more, I guess, American way of saying this. But yeah, that's why if there's ever something you want changed, you have to say something about it. Which reminds me that there are people who are like, no, the situation's okay. No, don't talk about the situation. No, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I have to talk about this. I have to complain because if I don't say anything, then nothing's going to change. Then no one's going to notice. I mean, people know what's happening. Like people aren't, dumb. You can see on social media. Like if you really want to know about the situation in Ecuador, like, yeah, my channel provides the information and there are channels that provide the information and some channels don't cover it because they don't want to get into problems with the people here. But like, you have so much access to the internet nowadays that telling us not to say anything when that's part of what we do is pointless. There's no reason for it because if a person really wants to know what's happening in the country, they can find it online. You can find it by looking up on Google what is happening in Ecuador, Ecuador news. You can look it up on Reddit. You go into the Ecuador subreddit and you see the post there from the actual Ecuadorians themselves. I mean, I'm one as well, but from other people if you don't want to listen to me. You can go on X, although that place is becoming increasingly toxic by the day. It's so weird. But you can find the news. So telling us don't say anything is not going to make the situation better, because it's just showing that we're willing to lie to people in order to benefit ourselves, and that's never right. It's never right to put, like, just because you want things to not look bad, to try to cover it with your thumb. Like, that's an expression as well. Like, you can't cover it with, you can't cover things and expect people not to know what's happening in the country. But yeah, anyways, going on to I just wanted to talk about the zones with power. Remember that there are zones in the country that constantly have power. Basically all zones that have to do with, like, essential services. Maybe some government buildings. I'm not sure if those run on generators, but I know that they typically have power. There are zones, of course, that medical areas. If you live close to a hospital, there's a high chance that your part of the grid is going to always have power, because yes, you have the hospital, so you have to have power. Although recently, apparently the hospital that we have really close by here, the ES hospital, they had power. That zone had power up until recently, because now they got their generators working. So now they don't need the power from the grid. They just use the generators, which I still think isn't the ideal thing. I mean, they should always have power with or without the generators. They shouldn't need to have the generators, because that's an essential service. Like, if the hospital doesn't have power, people die. So, if I don't have power, I'm not going to necessarily die at this moment. It's going to suck, but I'm not going to. So, don't take the power from those people. So yeah, for the people who leave the comments or who have left comments on my channel, yes, I have power. I never lost power. I'm okay. Cool, good for you. You probably live close to some essential service, and I'm happy for you. But don't undermine or don't try to take away from the problem that everyone else is having, because we are having it. So yeah, let me go into the comments of the video of the live stream. Sorry, I'm just reading my show notes, because I want to make sure I don't leave anything behind, or I don't forget to say anything. Joshua, do you think business owners in malls are benefiting from increasing blackouts? During the blackouts at night, people have been flocking to the malls, and they've been packed because there's nothing else to do. That's actually a very interesting topic. And I have a good friend, ironically, Lisa. I'm not sure if Mona Lisa is my good friend, but hello, Lisa. Wherever you are right now, I'm not going to say where you are, because I don't know if you want people to know. But Lisa actually asked me about what was happening with my dad. Well, she didn't ask me, but she said it must be tough for my dad. Ironically, the first few days of the outages, like when it was the heavy outages, things were actually not that bad, because like you're saying right now, Joshua, like, people were going out more because there's nothing to do at home. And people, like most people now at this point, have electric kitchens. So it's like they don't have electric stoves, electric ovens. So they don't have the means to cook. So they go out to eat, or they order out. And my dad's business saw a good surge of that at the beginning. Now that more businesses are getting smart, because my dad was smart about it, because when the situation happened, he bought a light. He was prepared. Fortunately, it's not like a powerful light, but it's a light. But now more people are catching up and preparing their businesses. So there's more businesses with lights. There are more people who are more prepared, of course, who have bought generators. Of course, there are places that are like going all out because they have the means to go all out. We had the means to prepare, to be okay and like, you know, have some light at the business, which helped my dad, but we didn't have the means for more than that. So recently, like, it's gone back to being a little bit slow because the outages were starting to get more balanced with the 8 hours. But now with the 14-hour outages again, I don't know if that's going to be a good thing for us or a bad thing for us. And I don't really want to say that I want things to go back to like, you know, being fair for everyone. Because at the same time, I do want things to be well for us, but I do like things being fair. So I do hope that, you know, everyone gets an equal opportunity here, I guess, like we did. That the power comes back, you know, things go back to normal. But for now, there isn't really much else that I can say about that. I guess I can say that, like, I actually rode around my motorcycle to see what places had power one night. There was a street that was completely dark, except for this one bakery. And because that bakery was open, I went to buy colada morada there. It's like a drink. So, you know, they get business because they have light. And I saw some hotels, some hostels as well, that were open with light, but others that I saw that didn't have light. The bigger ones obviously have power because they have generators, they have a means of power, but the smaller ones, it was hit or miss. So, you know, if you're expecting having power everywhere because they're all getting smart to getting generators, that's not going to be the case. A lot of people are afraid of buying a generator. It's like at minimum $200, at maximum over $1,000 to have a generator and for the situation to change tomorrow. Like, it's not realistic to say tomorrow it's going to rain because we're not in the rainy season yet. But tomorrow it could just start raining, because there were even people who, when I made my Don't Visit Ecuador video, they were like, no, over here we have power, it's been raining. But rain is random. Like, it's not guaranteed that it's going to rain all the time. So you can't just say that's the norm. That's the exception right now, as weird as it may seem. But it's the exception. So I couldn't full-heartedly say, you know, come here when I don't even feel comfortable with the situation here right now. But yeah, you can, of course, which we'll probably see a little bit of in Lewis's video if we can watch it. But you can, I mean, you can come, but you have to like really choose the places that have power, and those are going to be the pricier places, and a lot of people like to, you know, save. So if you're willing to spend on the pricier hotels or do a lot of research into finding a place that has power, yeah, of course you can come. But you're going to be very uncomfortable in some times of the day if you end up in a place that doesn't have power or has even longer blackouts, or just you didn't do your research and you came expecting there to be all the places with generators. But yeah, just some thoughts. So anyways, going back to Racing Ape, I was in Quito December 23rd to January 2024. At least it's not too hot during the days there, but the power cuts was irregular there as well, of course. There's no like guarantee that things are going to be normal, like in the power outages when you come. And it's funny because I'm kind of starting to feel like when the government, in the notices, the communications that they send out through these PDFs, when they send them out and they put like the situation can change if it rains, that's more of a way of them safeguarding the idea that there's gonna be power, because like, or that there's not gonna be power. Like, it's, or that they don't even follow the schedule that they're supposed to follow. So it's like they tell you from 5 to 9, but then they extend it to from 5 to 10 because there wasn't power, or maybe they just weren't being responsible enough, which goes into some comments that I saw on Reddit that we'll probably look at in a bit. but it's kind of like their, I forgot what it's called in English, but it's like a just in case, I guess you could say. Like if it ends up lasting longer, we mentioned it in the communication. But if it somehow ends up being shorter, we mentioned it in the communication. So, I kind of would feel better if they just stuck to the schedule, and if there were a way to, I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm not someone who works with power plants, by the way. I don't know if this is how it works, but if you could save water after it rains, like save power and keep the rationing schedule, and then one day of the week say, okay, look, it rained really well, we saved some water, so now you can have power this day, the whole day. That would be great. But I really don't know if that's how it works. So yeah, I just want the schedule to be followed, which goes into a conversation that I was having with someone I know. I'll tell you that in a bit. But I just want power rationing to follow the schedule, because when it doesn't follow the schedule, you don't know when you can turn on your lights. You don't know when you have to disconnect your electrical appliances. You're afraid of connecting them because they could break once the power comes back, and it's a pain in the butt. So, really quick, let me drink some water. For everyone who's just recently joined stream or who's joining, buenas, good afternoon, good morning. I'm sorry, I'm used to having these streams in the afternoon. Todo bien, which, like I said earlier, todo bien is our everything's good, or like when someone says what's up and you say nothing. It's your general response to these situations. So let me look at the comments. Alex Dolores, hello, how's it going? Hi Ace, I'm an Ecuadorian born in the US, learning Spanish as an adult. I feel like that was my situation, just that I had to learn Spanish as a teen. I knew some Spanish because of my parents, but I never got to learn completely, because when you're raised in the States, as I think Alex Dolores can tell us, your environment is just all English. So the language you learn is English, not Spanish. Your parents talk to you in Spanish, but if you go to school, that means maybe like 10 to 20% of your day is with your parents. 50% is at the school. And then if you have friends, the rest is for them. So you go out and you hang out with your friends. If you're chronically online, depending on which group of people you're talking to, you might end up learning more of one language or the other, also because of the interactions you have on there. But for the most part, yeah, English ends up being the main thing you learn. But anyways, I'm visiting family in Loja in a couple weeks. All this information is super helpful. Thank you so much. You are so very welcome. A good friend of mine is actually from Loja. Shirley, if you ever watch this live stream, hello. She's not in Loja, but her family's from there. And originally my family is actually from a place that's very close to Loja. So at least my dad's side. So yeah, I hope you have a great time, Alex Dolores. Patricia, hello. How's it going? All the gringos in Cuenca will be moving near the prison now. Might be a good time to invest in rental property near prisons. And that's actually a whole separate conversation. I don't have the best information on this, but I will say that, yes, another essential place with an essential service is a prison. So if you're close to it, you get power. I'm kind of wondering also how the outages are affecting the prices of land or terrain that you want to buy in Ecuador. Like if you want to buy land or terrain in Ecuador, how are prices being affected by the situation, the crisis now? You would assume that terrain would go down in price because of, who wants to come build land in Ecuador at this very moment? I don't know. But a friend of mine told me that no, terrain is always going up in price. It's always the best investment. It's always at a good price. And I don't doubt that that's true. I just, in my mind, like maybe I'm not enough of a businessman, but in my mind, I don't know who wants to come live in Ecuador right now. Like, if your situation is that terrible in the country you're from, okay, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, if you know that things are kind of uncomfortable here right now, I mean, I would feel like you would wait it out a little bit more and then come live in Ecuador. Like, I don't know, just thoughts of mine. I could be wrong because, like I said, your situation could be much worse than ours. Like, you could be in a war zone. And in that case, then yeah, of course, come over here. We're going to be much better off than there. But the discomfort that I feel every day when the situation with the outages, having to plan my schedule around, you know, the power going out, what time the power is going to go out, what time it's going to come back. It's just frustrating. It's annoying. So yeah, moving on. Racing Ape, off-grid solar, if one has the free cash and the resources are available, of course. But I remember we actually did an investigation on one live stream. I think it was earlier in the year when we were looking up like how much does it cost to like have solar panels installed, and solar panels are expensive. Oh my goodness, to get solar panels like privately, like your own solar panels, that'd be super expensive. At this point, it might be easier to do what my dad was saying, have an inverter. My dad I think has the inverter, but we just need we need a battery for it. Like, we need to have like a battery in order to have it work, and then afterwards that would give us power for some things like the Wi-Fi if you want Wi-Fi, maybe electric kitchen, maybe if you want to use the TV. Though why would you have the TV if you don't have power? You don't have Wi-Fi, especially if you have a smart TV. So, you know, it's kind of like you fix one problem, but that you also have to fix another with that kind of inverter. I also saw that Flynn's on the fly. I actually saw a video of theirs where they had like kind of like a setup where they had power because they did something similar to what I think my dad's talking about. Of course, like I said earlier, you could also invest in a generator, but we don't have that kind of money. Like, if we were to invest in anything, like, I feel like the battery would be the closest thing. But then, like we were discussing with my dad, you'd need to have like $100 for the battery. And then you also have to buy like a charger for it, which is like another $30. If we had a car, my dad said we could just resolve with the car, but we don't have a car. So it's like, you know, it's a bit of a all over the place kind of situation when it comes to that. But you know, there are solutions. There are solutions. Like you said, solar, but solar is an expensive solution. So Joshua, no problem. If you do want to go to Ecuador right now, I highly recommend bringing a battery-powered or rechargeable fan. The hot nights are 10 times more bearable with one. It's like I posted the other day. As you can see, this floor right here is literally where I took the picture. Like, I was laying down on the floor, looking towards this direction, and I took the picture of this over here because this is where you can see the outside. But yeah, when it's hot here and there's no power, I don't lay down in my bed because the sheets make it hot and make you transpire, sweat. So I just like lay down on the floor because it's super cold because of the tile. Thank goodness that I don't have carpet here. But I lay down on the floor, and that's my solution for when it gets hot. My parents would do that too before, but not because of the power outages, but because power is expensive and turning on the air costs more, so they just lay down on the floor. But yeah, that's why now I'm helping with the power, so that way, that's why I pay what I pay. I talked about that in my 1 month cost of living video. But I talked about how I pay like $100 for electricity when I don't actually consume $100 of electricity, but realize that that's not just for me. That's to help with other things in the house. Like, even if I don't alone consume those $100, that gives my parents more space to use the air. That gives my brother more space to use the air. Or if there's money left over, they can use it for something else that we need around the house. So it's just my way of helping a little bit more around the house. But yeah. So yeah, definitely, if you have a fan, bring one. I need to still buy a fan. I don't want to buy one here because they're the cheap fans that they sell that cost like $5. When there's no outages, they cost like maybe even less than $5. And now they're marking them up to like 10, 15, $20. The same thing with the light bulbs. They've just gone up in price because now I guess you could say scalpers, not really scalpers, but the people who sell them are like supply and demand. There's a lot of demand, little supply, so let's raise the price. I guess that's just normal to happen in any situation. Jairus, hello. Dylan. I also saw Ken and Living Abroad. Steve, LaShawn, how's it going? Buenas, hello. How is everyone doing? Right now I'm in this live. Steve, LaShawn, I don't know who's there right now, but talking about the situation and talking about how fans have gone up in price, light bulbs as well. My dad told me the other day, like he bought a light bulb at $5 that they're now selling, a rechargeable light bulb that we basically use when there's no power, and now they're selling it at $20. So it's like, yeah. Jairus, hope you're having a good day so far. Hi, the term you're looking for is CYA, cover your ass. Well, there's a lot of that language in the publications. Yeah, I can imagine. You definitely have to be prepared for some of these things. Dylan, some of the hydros in Ecuador have the ability to save water, yes, but not all of them. That's why we have backup thermoelectric park, which would end the blackouts. But no one maintained it for 7 years. Yes, that's part of the things that I talked about in my previous video. I think it was a don't visit Ecuador video, but I did mention that was one of the reasons why we're in the mess we're in right now, because there's a lot of plants that just were abandoned, and that's a whole separate conversation that I want to have. I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. A lot of the Ecuadorians, especially the people who support Rafael Correa, they talk about how a lot of the reasons why a lot of the, I guess you could say, the jobs, the constructions, I don't know how it would call it, the services, because I don't consider a street to be a service, or am I wrong to not believe it to be a service? The highways, everything that was built by Correa is not being maintained, supposedly because the governments that come into power, they don't want to give like Correa credit. They don't want to like to show that he did good things. And I really don't know if that's actually the case. I do know that some of the things that were built in Correa's time, like Coca-Cola itself, was built in such a poor location that it really does feel like it was just built in order to have like this treaty with China, or to siphon off money, like launder it. I'm not sure how you would say it. Like if it supposedly cost $1 billion, I don't know how much it cost. I forgot the exact price. They paid China. The real value was 500 million, and then Correa and the people around him took the other 500 million. That's the thought process of what actually happened and why it was constructed in such a poor place. Public Works. Yes, Public Works. Thank you, Dylan. So it's like it feels ridiculous to me that and you're aware of a situation such as power, and you do nothing to resolve it until the very last moment. I don't blame Noboa for all of this, by the way. I want to make that very clear. I'm part of the team that thinks that really there's not much that Noboa can do in this short amount of time. But I also acknowledge that there's a lot of things that could have started being done if we had taken action earlier. I don't know if he didn't take action because he got overconfident like every other government, or if it's because they just didn't want to give credit to Correa because of the things the things that we know about Correa, since he is technically a criminal. Not even technically, he is a criminal. So, it's pretty tough in that kind of situation to know where to throw blame. because they're never going to openly admit, oh, we don't fix this because Correa made it. They'll say we don't fix it or we don't do anything about it because it's in a poor position, it's in a poor place, it's not ideal, we have different things to worry about at the moment. So, you know, there's no guarantee as to where the problem starts, and why it isn't being resolved at the speed it should be resolved at. But yeah, going on, Racing Ape, stored water is a type of pumped storage hydropower water batteries for the renewable energy sector. Easier to do if you don't have to pump it higher up first. Ken, hello, buenas. Hi, I visited Ecuador in August. All was good. I'm actually chatting with a friend who at this moment works for the power company in Guayaquil. He was going to join the chat, but has no internet. That's unfortunate. It would be great if he joined, to give his thoughts, of course. Jairus, folks who want to visit the coast also need to take the agua potable situation into account. If the lights are out, even people with private wells won't have running water for good parts of the day. That's something that I also wanted to mention, and it was actually one of the things that I have pulled up over here. Because the crisis in Ecuador, and it's funny because it shows it as past tense, but it's actually present. It's a triple crisis. We have the crisis of lack of electricity. We don't have power. Water is obviously scarce. And we have these fires that happen in certain parts of Quito, which at first I wasn't sure if it was due to, you know, there's no water, the drought, so everything's drier and more susceptible to fire. But when I read over here, and I'm going to translate this to English, when I read over here, it's very true that, like it says here, people cause forest fires in Ecuador. And over here, like this quote says, nature does not hurt itself. So it would be illogical to put all the blame on nature, like, oh yeah, it's dry, so nature just decided to burn. No, that's not how this works. It's dry, and due to human activities, and you can even look at it even as not even just like I went to the forest and decided, oh, I've got a match, let's start a fire. No, it's not even that. It's all the things that we could have done to avoid the climate crisis, global warming, we have not done. So now we are facing the consequences of this. And I remember seeing a comment of someone saying, no, global warming is not a thing. It's something political. And look, I don't try to be a political person. I'm not a political person. I don't like being a political person. So I'll make some things very clear right now. One, Daniel Noboa could not resolve the things that have been happening for years in the country in the short amount of time that he's had. Yes, of course, it's not like he didn't have time to start doing things, but I also don't think he's had enough time to change everything that needs to be changed in the country. I've talked about this in a separate sense, like when I talk about body transformation, like if you want to get thinner or if you want to bulk up, like depending on how long you've lived, let's just assume you've lived for 20 years. You can't change what has been happening for 20 years in 1 month or even in 1 year. You can make a difference. You can do some changes realistically without using artificial means like, like cheating in the terms of body, like, steroids and such. But you can make small changes, but not a complete change, because how are you going to change 20 years of things in 1 year? So in the same way with the government, you can't expect everything that's been happening throughout time to just change in the span of a few months, in the span of even just 1 year. It takes time. You can start doing things that guide you towards that, but you can't make a complete change. And I also want to talk because there are people who say, I remember in one comment I saw that you should be clear that you support Noboa. That I don't know if they were referring to that I endorse him. I do not endorse Noboa. I'm not out here with the Noboa signs or even the cardboard cutout of him saying that I'm a Noboa like endorser. I support the things that he does. Some of them are very good. I'm very disappointed that action hasn't been taken as it should have been taken ahead of time. But I don't say you should vote for Noboa because I think you should vote for Noboa. No, I don't say that because that's not realistically what I think. I think you should analyze the options. I think you should see how realistic their proposals are. And I think I talked about this before Noboa got elected. Don't vote for the person who is promising things that you know aren't going to happen. Vote for the person who's being more realistic. Because even if their proposals are weaker, they're probably more likely to happen. When you start promising things that you can't do, why would anyone believe in you? I don't know why people believe in those people. I also don't know why people believe in the people who are posting videos or pictures of them helping the community. If you help someone, you shouldn't have to post that. I mean, I understand for a campaign that's good campaigning, but like if you're just doing it for that moment and you're not gonna do it all year, then don't do that. Like if you do it all year, okay, post everything you want. But like don't just do like one picture of you helping a lady cross a street because you're the president that the country needs because you help this old woman cross the street, or you're helping these people pack these things into a truck. Like don't do that once and post it like you're the hero that everyone needs, because that's not realistic. That's not real. And I don't like that. I personally don't like that. I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but I think that's not the way people should campaign, because it's not the realistic image that you know is going to happen throughout the year. Anyways, something that I forgot to mention, I skipped over it, which was the conversation I was having with someone I know about the whole outage situation. Like we're complaining not because we have the outages now. Like we've come to accept the outages, which is already a third world mentality. But now we've gone so far as to complain when the outages aren't being respected. Like, oh, you told us 14 hours and you gave us 13 hours. What happened? That's not right. So we've gone from having a third world mentality to having a fourth world mentality. And I find it funny because it's like the complaint shouldn't be that. And that's how we've just come to talk about it internally with friends. Like we've got a fourth world mentality now because we're living through these problems and we're just kind of accepting it because there's nothing we can do about it. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that really quick. So yeah, going back to the video, to the comments here in the video, there's a lot. Let's see here. Let's see. Ken, he states that there is no power until noon and typically no power for 14 hours daily. It would have been cool if he could have chimed in. Oh yeah, Ken, talking about your friend. Yeah, I mean, over here it's the same thing, but like I said, yesterday and today were exceptions for anyone who wasn't here in the stream earlier. I did mention that today and yesterday we don't have the outages in my part of the city because we've just been following the schedule to the letter, and someone complained and apparently that worked. I didn't expect it to work, but it worked. Patricia, here in the USA, price gouging during an emergency is illegal. Big fines and lots of public shaming for businesses caught in price gouging. That's why the term scalpers comes to mind, and that's why I mentioned it when I heard that, because that happened during the pandemic when there were like mask shortages, when there were medicine shortages. People had them, they were selling them separately for increased prices. Even if it was a $1 increase, it was still an increase. So that was not good. That was not cool. And similar things are happening now, but with normal businesses. I'm not sure if it's because we're following the price. Like, I had to teach a economics class for English, and there's supply and demand. And the way I understand it, if there's not enough supply and there's a lot of demand, then the market gives you the opportunity to be able to raise the prices. And no one really gets shamed for it because it's what everyone is doing and it's allowed. But we are in the middle of a crisis, so I do feel that I feel like that should take precedence over the idea of supply and demand normally. Someone who knows more about economics could probably explain it more than I can, but I do feel that like I try to justify it only because of what I taught and what I learned. I might be wrong, because like I said, a crisis should not be the reason why things go up in price. But I mean, I'm not the one selling it, and the most I can do is say that shame on those people for doing it in the middle of a crisis. But if people need it, they're gonna buy it anyway. So it's like, even if I shame it, even if I don't condone it, there's not much that I can do. I'm pretty sure after the crisis ends, people are gonna know where not to buy anymore because those places ripped them off. But in the meantime, if you need it, you're gonna go buy it. Living, loving abroad, doing good. We don't normally complain about the outages. We understand that the drought and past decisions about power generation are the reasons for it. We also understand that our personal situation is different from the locals that have to live and work here, so we don't take anything for granted. Thank you for having a more neutral perspective on the situation. I have to complain because I have to work, and when there's no power, it becomes harder to work, and they still demand a lot out of us even though we don't have power and it's hard to work. Like, they want us to upload grades like immediately, but like, how do I upload grades if the system is down? Are you paying for my internet connection? Are you going to give me power to do that? And no, they're not, by the way, just to self-answer that question. So they're asking for a lot while not doing, not doing anything to make the situation easier for us, At least that's what I feel. That's how I feel about the situation. A lot of my coworkers feel the same way, because they demand a lot, but like, what do you want us to do? It wouldn't be as bad if you demanded more of the students as well, but they demand a lot from us, and they tell us, don't be too hard on the students. What about the teachers? Why are you being so hard on the teachers? Like, don't be too hard on the teachers. If we're not going to be too hard on the students, then understand us as well. That's my side teacher rant. I'll continue now. Patricia, not fixing the roads out of spite is so wrong. My town has an app for public works. If I report a pothole, it's usually fixed within 48 hours. Patricia, you don't have to tell us where you live, but I don't know where you live, and I love your city right now, your town. Over here, like, I'll actually say this because I have to say this. I remember I posted a video where I complained about the streets that had the holes that were there for like years. They finally fixed those holes. So a round of applause for the city for taking action. I don't know if they saw my video. I don't know if they just were like, oh yeah, these holes are big enough now. Let's fix them. I don't know. But I was very happy to see those holes fixed. Not all the holes have been fixed in the city, just FYI. But I was very happy to see the specific ones that I pointed out in the video fixed, because like I said earlier, for those who didn't hear it, if you don't complain, nothing happens. So you have to say something. Dylan, that is a joke of a conviction. Joshua, would love to hear your thoughts on immigration for people who have the means to do so. A couple of my friends are already considering it, sadly. What countries are most common to emigrate to? If you mean basically to move to, Ecuador, if it weren't going through this situation, would be lovely to live here. The climate is nice depending on where you live. You choose your place, so you get the climate you want. I would personally love to check out Cuenca because I feel like the climate there would be totally what I want. I would just have to adapt to the food. That's one of the reasons why I don't feel like I'm gonna have to make a video about that. Why I don't move from my city. But that's definitely one of the reasons. The food. I cannot leave behind my Manabí food, especially encebollado, ceviche, pan de almidón. But common places that I keep hearing people moving to because of price mainly is over in I think it was Thailand. Where else? I've heard like Eastern countries. I've heard mainly people talking about like people move. The Philippines, I think, was another one. I think. Don't quote me on that. But I've heard people moving to the countries like a little bit further from here because of the price, which is even cheaper apparently than over here. The only thing that you'd have to deal with is the language barrier, maybe. But I really don't want to like give recommendations on that because I wouldn't know. Personally, if I could choose where to go to, I would go to the States. Weird as it may sound, because it's expensive over there, but I feel like it would be like the place where my language would work, where I would feel comfortable with the way society is, depending on where I choose to live, of course. The only thing that I would be very unhappy with is the pricing because I'm so used to Ecuadorian prices. I even have conflicts sometimes where I think something is expensive over here because I remember, like I know what it is. So like the price, what it is, what it was, what's in a different place here. But if I go back to the States, like everything would look expensive to me. Even except for tech, because over here tech is typically more expensive, especially original tech. So I mean, that's just personally what I would do if I could, if I had the money, the means. I would love to live in the States. Switzerland is apparently a very safe country. So if you're looking for safety, Switzerland. But yeah. Dylan Novoa said he had a plan to fix the electricity during his campaign. His government had failed to do anything until the situation se les fue de las manos. Yeah. I was very disappointed when I started seeing the clips about that. I had completely forgotten about that. But he did make a mention of it. And a lot of people are saying that he just said that in order to get people's support, like to have a good answer. Like they call here labia. Hold up. Which in English translates to gift of the gab. I'm going to write it here, labia. But basically when people say that someone has labia, it's because they know how to say things in a smart way that convinces people. So it's gift of the gab. But yeah, I was very disappointed to hear that, to remember that, and to see that nothing has been done. Let's see here. Moving on. I'm told Peru has a pretty stable power station, but I imagine there might be some other options. Well, Peru, I've seen a lot of good comments coming from people from Peru, worried about us and also talking about how the situation over there is a little bit better because they have diversity in the power plants. I actually can't remember. I think I pulled up a post about that. Let's see here. Well, I have a post here from we must prepare for prolonged droughts. But that's not the one. That's not the one either. Well, there's this one that says that the power outages might increase to 20 hours, which would be terrible. Let me just show you that right now. This is from Reddit. And there's an article. And there could be the chance that power outages are going to move up to 20 hours. And yeah, starting the 28th of October, the outages could go up even more from 16 to 20 hours because that's when there's more demand of energy. Like there's more energy needed. There's more of an energy demand, which is true. During the work week is when public services come more into effect. Schools and such are working, so we need power. So there could be more outages in order to ration power, so that way there's more power later on. Once again, if it rains, the situation could get better, but there's no guarantees. Let me see here. Yeah, this is the one that I saw. Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Chile are facing the drought, but only Ecuador, which is the country that has prohibited private generation of energy and has monopolized the industry, is suffering 14 hours of outages. Statism, I'm not sure if that would be the correct translation for estatismo, is a cancer. Now, I'm not going to get into the political part, but I will say that good on Peru, Chile, and Colombia for diversifying their energy sources. And actually, one of the comments here talks about the different things that they use. Some use carbon, gas, natural gas, thermoelectric energy, and they have other sources of power. Chile has 20% of the energy of their energy grid, which is solar. And in that same way, over here, someone mentioned that Colombia, I think it was in that same comment, somewhere around here. Well, there's a comment somewhere that says that Colombia has like, if you go around the streets of Colombia, you'll find buildings that have solar panels already installed into them. So they're already much more diversified than Ecuador is, where we're just focusing on having this whole water generation plant, which makes no sense, this hydro plant. But yeah, let's see here. We had blackouts in 2009 and Korea fixed it for a decade. Luisa list of 5 is only option unless you like the blackouts. I mean, I wouldn't say that Luisa and the list 5 is the only option. Once again, I don't want to get political and I don't want to endorse anyone, but you have to really look at the options and see what they're promising and make sure it's realistic. That's my thoughts on that. Pepe, hello, third world, is that POL correct? When I mentioned earlier the whole third world and fourth world thing, it's a fact. How else do you want to describe not having power for 14 hours a day? What other countries go through that aren't going through some kind of war or something? Poor planning. And I even think over here, someone talks about like how part of the problem is the people. Let's see here. No, a lot of people here are blaming the government. Da-da-da-da. And even here, this post is talking a lot about yeah, and like here it's talking pretty much about what I mentioned earlier, that everyone tries to find fault in the government of Korea, but like they don't try to fix the problems. Like it makes no sense to just look at the problems that Korea, like we all have to recognize that there was corruption. There's no doubt about that. But don't try to just blame Korea for everything. Like that's there was a post on Reddit even talking about that. That narrative at this point should be very played out. I mean, I accept the corruption because I know I don't want it, but I accept that it happened. But we can't just keep blaming that government for everything. Like there's a lot of things that the governments that came into power next had time to do and decided not to do. I don't know why, but they decided not to do it. So let's stop blaming one government for everything. I can't even remember if this was the place where, or was it over here? Let's see here. Give me 1 second. I want to see where that comment that I saw is a really good one. Yeah, it's not here. Let's check over here. I think it was in this one. Oh, All right, Julia, thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Helps out a ton. Magic, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the dono. Thank you for supporting the channel. If anyone wants to support the channel, I always appreciate it. It helps my situation out a lot. If you want to become a member on here on Buy Me a Coffee, that helps out a ton too. Typically, I give more personal updates over there, a little bit of a recap of what's happened during the month and behind the scenes of things that I'm planning on doing. So if you want to support the channel through that means, I always appreciate it. So thank you very much. But here, this was an interesting post because it shows this image, of course, someone blaming the apagones, the power outages of Cuba because of socialism. And then over here, when Ecuador says it, it's not Noboa's fault. He can't control the rain. And it's like, I don't want to get into socialism and, the difference between that and what's happening over here. But I liked the comments on this post. That in this, it's not just in this subreddit, but in Colombia, they always try to blame everything on the fact that it's becoming socialist, and then they relate it to Venezuela. Like everything that happens, it happens, and we're becoming Venezuela. So it's always this kind of weird comparison when it's not even just like, it's not, you don't have to compare. Like it's literally just our situation, and we're not doing things right. The current government that's in power, like if they're not doing things right, it has nothing to do with another government. Like you can compare it to take a look at what the differences or the similarities are, but it's not the same thing. And over here, this comment was one that I talked about, and that's why even in the description of this live stream, I put that video about Viveza Criolla, because here, it's mentioned again, Viveza Criolla. Like we have to learn to accept fault for the things that are happening, and that is somewhere where I will say that this is right, because Noboa isn't accepting, at least I don't think he's accepting from, and I guess publicly who would accept that they didn't do things right. That basically they had the time to fix the situation, maybe not perfect it, but at least start preparing to fix it, and they really didn't. And now we're suffering the consequences. But once again, it's not completely Noboa's fault, because we do have to look back at previous governments and realize that they also didn't do anything to fix the problem. I don't know if they just kept getting overconfident. Oh, it started raining. We don't need to worry about the energy grid right now. But there really was overconfidence here. And that's why we're going through these outages, these planned blackouts, as I like to call them, because there was just a lack of foresight, a lack of realizing that we can't just live on one source of energy and not diversify the grid. It's just not going to work that way. So yeah, I thought that was some interesting comments, and take a look back at the at the video that I made on Viveza Criolla, which is very much a thing, and not just in Ecuador. It's a Latin American thing, but we give it the name Viveza Criolla, or like it said over here, la del más sabido, la ley del más sabido, the more clever or most clever or sneaky one. So yeah, terrible things really. Jairus, I think the current administration is taking advantage of the situation to set up lucrative deals with mining companies and other private industry. I have heard those comments as well. I've also heard I have my own theory, to be honest. I kind of feel like maybe this government has just been waiting until the very end to resolve the situation. So that way, when it gets resolved, the last thing on people's mind, the last thing that people remember is, oh, Noboa just fixed the energy crisis. We should vote for Noboa. So right now, everyone looks at him like as the villain, like, oh, he's not doing things, he's the bad guy. But as soon as the energy crisis, as soon as it ends, like if he ends it before the campaign, then it's very obvious that it was just a means to make people like look at him as like the hero, you know? So that's just, you know, an idea that I have. But I could be wrong. Pepe, were power outages used as terrorist action by Iraq insurgents? Why is this happening in this group? Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia. The power outages, it's hard to say. We do know that there was sabotage some point in the year from a previous, the previous energy minister, because they didn't, well, we do have the speculation that that was the case because they didn't report that there were outages that were happening. Not outages, that the energy grid was not looking good. So there was like a kind of overconfidence there. Though looking further back, it should have been obvious from the start. But I wouldn't know if there's any interference from foreign countries like Iraq. Patricia, it's good that, well, Dylan's saying to Patricia, it's good that the local authorities are being responsible. I love that, I swear. Ken, Ecuador is currently in talks with Colombia to purchase power. I did see someone talking about that. I just don't know if Colombia has power to sell to Ecuador. And it goes back into that comment that I saw in the Reddit post where they basically said that if Colombia doesn't sell Ecuador power, then Colombia is acting like Venezuela. Like everyone's trying to relate it to Venezuela when it's nothing, not even close. Let's see here. Going back to the comments. Any thoughts on ocean waves to generate more electric power? Not a quick fix. Someone mentioned that in the subreddit, actually. Let me see if I can find that post. Yeah, here. that was actually pretty funny because someone actually did mention that. And if you look at the image, like they're saying, like if you have the coast and you have the ocean, why not throw in ocean water to, like, you know, to generate energy? And I think someone argued in the comments, someone said that you can't do that because there's like a certain sea level already established. There's a certain like level, and in order for it to like work, like it would have to be like a different level. Like there would have to be some weird construction hacks being made in order to solve the problem. But there's no real, like, that's not really the solution, was what basically the people were saying. Well, let me be specific onto what they were saying. Hydroelectric plants work by throwing water due to gravity that makes the turbines work. If this is already at the ocean level, you can't raise the level of water in order to make the hydroelectric plants work. You could make water move, but that would cost more energy than what you would obtain. So yeah, basically someone also said, I don't know how people can think, no sé cómo la gente no. I don't know why people don't think before they post dumb things, pendejadas. So yeah. Patricia, I would love to live in Switzerland. Oh, wait, Jairus. I'll always complain. I'm sure the water company hates me by now. I just think if I'm having a hard time, I know that other folks are having a worse time. Nobody deserves to live without water and power. Thank you. There are people who keep trying to justify it in my comment section in my videos. Like, oh, you know, it's not so bad. I'm like, why are you undermining what people feel? Like, I accept if it's not so bad for you, that's cool for you. But like, there's a lot of people who are having a hard time over here. And you saying that it's not so bad is not making our situation better. Julia, I know I didn't say hi earlier, but hello. Thank you again for the donation. I'm getting through the comments, and Patricia wants to live in Switzerland. And yes, I know labia has a very different definition in English. But in Spanish, when you hear someone has labia, it means they're very good at talking. They're very good at convincing people with their words. And when you talk about dating, when it comes to labia, it's like when people promise you the moon, and they make these comments that are kind of like, you know, exaggerated but not realistic. Abundanza Garden Design, sir. Hello. I've been following you and listening to you discuss issues regarding life in Ecuador, including the power situation going on. As a possible immigrant to Ecuador, I truly appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much. In this channel, I try to be as real and direct as possible. Same way as Living Loving Abroad, Don Shader, Lewis of Ecuador. We try to be realistic. We try to tell the truth because, I mean, I'm kind of upset with myself because I haven't made fun videos about life in Ecuador, because there are fun things. There are nice things we can do. Like my food tour videos. I've been wanting to do my competition videos between different types of encebollado and ceviche, and different foods like that. But I feel like right now the crisis merits for us to talk about it, inform what's happening, and be realistic about it. And I forgot to make my disclaimer at the beginning of the video, but for everyone who was rushed and just came here for the important information, I'm sorry this video is lasting so long. I haven't done a live stream in a while, and honestly, I want to give as much information. I want to talk and interact with the community, because this doesn't always have to be business. We can sit here and talk and talk about what's happening in life, separate from the energy crisis. But once again, thank you for appreciating my honesty, because I feel like sometimes people want us to not be honest, and that just doesn't flow with me. Especially when my information could completely determine whether someone decides to live here or not. I know that I'm not the only source that everyone is using, so I also don't want the blame to be completely on us if someone doesn't decide to live here. And I would much rather be honest, and if someone decides to live here, them live here because they know the real situation, than to be dishonest for the person to come and be like, Ace is such a liar. No, that's never a good thing. Let's see here. Racing Ape, Third World was originally just the non-aligned parts during the Cold War. First World being NATO, second the Soviet. Pepe. Wow, so who would be looking at if not RC5, sir? I'm looking at, I don't know them by numbers. I'm still looking at Noboa as a possibility. I'm looking at Topic, but I'm just looking at them to see what they have to offer. I don't specifically have someone who I'm going to vote for, but I'm analyzing what their campaigns have. Well, I'm going to be analyzing them because I want to make a choice based on what's realistic and not false promises. I'm not going to endorse any of them because I don't think you should vote based on what I tell you to vote for. You should vote for what you think is right based on the information you have from that person. Global politics breaking news. Hola. Hola, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I thought you were an hour behind me. No worries. It happens. Julia, only thing I see in the news is blaming the lack of rain. There's so much blaming and not, like, you know, accepting the fault that I know why that post that, let's see here. I think it was this one was made, because it's like, I know, this one, because like, there's only so much that you can blame on nature. Like, nature is not at fault for us not being prepared. So this government is just now doing what they have to do when they could have been doing this a long time ago. And I could be wrong. Like I said, this could be a plan, like to leave everything to the very last minute, fix everything, so that way Noboa gets more acceptance from the public. I'm very neutral in this. I don't know if that's what he's trying to do. And if he is, I'm disappointed, because you shouldn't have to put people through this kind of situation in order for people to like you more. People should like you as a president, as a potential presidential candidate for next election cycle, because of the things that you've done for them throughout the whole year, not just at the very end where you tried to save everything in order to make yourself look like the hero after putting everyone through pain. I hope that's not the case. Pepe, weren't they records downfalls of rain in the last years? I could have sworn that there was a time when there was so much rain that people were complaining because things were getting flooded. Now it's like, where'd all that water go? But I'm guessing that's also why previous governments got overconfident. But that overconfidence should not blind them to making things that they should have made for years now. By the way, I currently reside in Parker, Arizona. I hope everything is going over there well over there in Parker. Send chips and fans. James Ellis, you should get into socialism versus capitalism. Clarify the issue. Oh man, I don't think I'm the best person to do that, to be honest. We don't live, at least I don't think we live in a socialist government, because, I mean, we have the means to get ahead. I do think that there is a lot of unfairness in what the government has been structured as, in what society is structured as. The rich, of course, will always be rich unless they do something horribly wrong. But like, the poor almost never become rich unless there's like, unless you get lucky, like really, really lucky. Like there's never, I don't know if that's just the way it works worldwide. It probably is, because everything seems to relate to some other part of the country. But getting ahead really does seem to be difficult because there's never like a means to do it, a normal means to do it. And I guess that's normal because the rich want to stay rich, and if they start making the poor rich, then the rich won't be rich because then they're at the same level as the poor people who became rich. I don't know. I honestly don't think we're terribly off, but I do feel like at the position that even I'm in right now, unless I get lucky, like I said earlier, unless I get lucky, like my channel, I get 100,000 subscribers. I get 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 views on all my videos. And I manage to leverage something that I have over here. Like, I don't know, I start selling shirts or something. And because I have such a big audience, my audience buys my shirts. Like, unless all of that comes into play, like all of that happens, I think I'll always be in a very similar or the same situation that I've always been in. Because in work, my salary is only ever going to go up because the minimum wage goes up, which means I'll probably earn every year in my normal job, my high school job, I'll earn an extra $25. In my academy, I haven't had a raise in my academy for over a year now. I earn an okay amount, but I don't have enough hours to say that I'm earning, wow, a great amount of money. And on YouTube, if I'm lucky, I'll earn $100, $110 a month. Unless I get on live streams or on videos, if someone decides to donate, if someone becomes a member on Buy Me a Coffee, you send a donation on Buy Me a Coffee. Like, if those things happen, then yeah, I'll have a good month where things will be a little bit better. But it's not game changing. It's not end all, you know? So my situation will most likely be the same unless something spectacular happens where for some reason my videos, like I said, get amazing amounts of attention. I understand YouTube out of nowhere, which I think I understand YouTube a lot now in comparison to a year ago, and especially when I started about 3 years ago. I understand YouTube a lot. But even then, I don't know what to do to make my channel grow more or to make more money. Because while I do have the main purpose of helping everyone and being as honest as I can while helping, I do feel like based on what I know of YouTube, my channel is never going to grow much more than maybe if I'm lucky, like 10,000 to 50,000 subscribers, because that's just realistically the amount of people that are going to ever look for information about Ecuador at a given time. I'd have to make something viral to maybe grow a little bit more, but that would mean expanding my audience and separating myself from only Ecuador. And I think most of the people here would be very unhappy if I started talking about something else that's not Ecuador. Unless it has to do with travel, because my channel does have aspects of travel to it. But I've seen channels that diversify in travel, like separate themselves from the main topic, and their channel dies. Like they stop getting views, people stop visiting them. Like if they have diehard fans, like the people who become members, the people who donate, like if they have diehard fans, those channels can somehow still have traction, but views definitely plummet when you separate yourself too far from what you're mainly talking about. That's why my video podcasts sometimes don't do well, because I start talking about something extra, something else aside from Ecuador content. And that makes the algorithm, which is you, the people, get confused. That's what they always explain it as. It's not really like you get confused, but you're like, I'm not interested in this, so yeah, bye. So you don't watch those videos. But yeah, that's my little Ecuador rant, my content creation rant. But going back into my situation becoming better, and in general, people's situation becoming better, the only way that ever is gonna happen is if you have a business idea that takes off. My friend who sells macacos, which if you've watched my Ecuador food tour video, macacos is basically nachos in a bag. No, tacos in a bag, because it has the meat, it has the sauces, and he hit it. Like he hit that idea and he succeeded. Like I don't know if he's doing amazingly, but I know he's doing very well. Every time I go, he's always selling, he always has people, he always sells out. And he's done a good job at marketing that business because he has a TikTok which is about him. And now in his TikTok, he promotes his business as well. So now he's very well known because of that food, because of that product, and because of his TikTok. So like it's all business. Like if you get lucky, if you built up an audience, if you've sold a product well, then you can succeed. But the people who are able to do that, and I mentioned this once, I think in a live stream or in a video, not everyone is made to become a businessman or to understand how businesses work. So most people here don't do that, and most people here are destined to live the same life forever, unless they get lucky like winning the lottery. But even then, as studies have shown, winning the lottery doesn't guarantee that you will be successful, because a lot of people don't know what to do with that much money that they get in that short amount of time. But yeah, going back to the topic, I don't have the means to talk about socialism versus capitalism. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Juancho, hello. The IMF is imposing austerity in Ecuador. That's the main issue. I really don't know much about that. I think I once saw a conversation topic about the IMF, but I didn't delve too much into it. I'm going to go back into the normal just chatting scene. Oopsies. Hi. How's it going? Global politics, also not November yet. If I remember correctly, Novoa said the shorter blackout would start in November. That's when the shortest blackout was supposed to start, the 4-hour one. But in November, in theory, now I don't know if I should believe what he said, but in theory, in November was when we were supposed to have the shorter blackouts, because the Toachi Pilaton power plant was supposed to go into action. But he said we were going to have 8-hour and 6-hour blackouts, and we're having 14-hour blackouts. So I don't know if I can believe that Toachi Pilaton will be ready by November. That's my problem here. Lisa, how's it going? I just saw your comment. Pepe, does Viveza Criolla work with institutional systemic issues? Viveza Criolla is everywhere. If you can name something that doesn't have it, you get a gold star from me. Because everything, Viveza Criolla is baked into the system, and it's just terrible. It's in the culture, so it's everywhere. Así es, the IMF are congratulating Ecuador while we are in the middle of this crisis. Sad. Lisa, hi Abundanza. I'm in Tucson and also very interested in making Ecuador my new home. I thoroughly appreciate Ace's generosity in giving his perspectives. Everybody, please hit that like button. Please hit the like and subscribe for more content like this. I appreciate the support. I might not become a 100,000 channel, but I might get 10K. And that reminds me, I was looking up some things online. I get curious sometimes, and if I can find some kind of brand deal or something. And while I don't exactly have a brand deal with this company, I did manage to become like, what do you call that? An affiliate. And I thought it was something that was really cool. I haven't gotten one myself, but I do plan on getting one soon. But there's this company called Divoom. They make these little like speakers and these little like pixel art things that I think are really nice. They're just really expensive. And I want one. So maybe when I get 10K subscribers, I'll buy one of these things. If I can, I'll leave a link in this video so that you can check out Divoom for yourself. But I'm very interested in buying something that they have. That's the only reason why I decided to affiliate with them. So yeah. Juancho, with all due respect to people from the coast of Ecuador, the coast of Europe, but Viveza Criolla is more developed there than in the mountain region, at the coast of Ecuador. Yeah, I mean, I can't doubt that. I do hear that there is a lot more Viveza Criolla in the coast than there is in the highlands. I haven't done a full deep dive study on why that is, but I feel like it's probably because here there's less opportunities. There's more of this kind of informality where people feel it's all right to do so. While when I went to Quito, I felt like people were a little bit more proper, a little bit more like, you know, like serious, I guess you could say. Global politics, I agree this is a complete political move on the administration's doing. The closer it gets to election day, the more a lot of issues will start clearing up. Who knows? Dylan, that's nonsense guy. Andrea Robo, the previous energy minister, sent various messages to the president and was ignored about the situation. Check out reporting by La Defensa. I'll have to check that out. Let's see here. Show. I got a comment from Arif. Hello, Arif. Which is the safest city in Ecuador? Galapagos. But that's also the most expensive and probably the one that most people won't be able to live in. Next to that, you've got Loja. No, not Loja. Yeah, Loja. You've got Loja. You've got Cuenca. Baños has been known to be relatively okay. So yeah. Let's see here. The government could always do cloud seeding. I realize it's expensive, but priority where needed. It's usually people who don't live there who make the dumb comments. There's comments from everyone everywhere. Julia, retired American, saying, "Go enjoy the life outdoors and read a book." I'm so tired of these. Oh. That's a prohibited word here, but I get what you're saying. We're in 2024 and people need to work, internet, water, mostly working with pumps. I highly agree. The comments that I get always saying that the situation is not so bad. I mean, I get where they're coming from if you're coming from a very terrible place, but like you're undermining the situation as a whole is never a good thing. You have to complain in order for things to change. James, GMAs, bring me on the stream and let's tell the truth to the people. Enough with the Venezuelan boogeyman crap. I kind of censor myself a lot, but it's because I don't like having to say the bad words, but it's necessary. I do agree. We need to stop blaming Venezuela for things. We need to stop thinking that Venezuela is like bad. Venezuela, the government itself is not good. And we recognize that and we realize that, but the people themselves are not to blame. If people leave Venezuela, it's because things are bad over there, but not because the people themselves are bad. Unfortunately, there are people here who come to do bad things, but that's not Venezuelans as a whole. If we're going to talk about Latin Americans being the nicest people, Venezuela's included there. I don't know if there's a lot of terrible people in Venezuela, but I don't think so. I've met a lot of really nice Venezuelan people. Even the person who cuts my hair, excellent guy. Love him. He's great. And he's from Venezuela. Jairus, it's hard to get out and have fun when the lights are off everywhere. It impacts so much of your life, right? Jean Carlos, Cuenca es la ciudad más segura de Ecuador. From what I understand, it is one of the safest. I've also heard Loja is like up there in safety. Hi Lisa, Doug here. He's got great outlook and thinks logically. I really appreciate his take. Thanks. Thank you, Abundanza. Take is right. Vote for Rich Boys, Topic, or Novoa to continue enjoying these lovely moments in family without electricity. I honestly don't know if they're going to do anything to make the situation better, but I do know that Topic was talking about the situation before Novoa started addressing it publicly. Burns now, your kids will be scared of the dark and respect dad. I'm not sure what you mean, Pepe, but okay. Juancho, Luisa seems like the best option. Hey, if that's your option, I respect your choice. Remember, I am not here to tell you your choice is right or wrong. Like, unless this person is planning to burn down the country, then yes, it's wrong. But if you have someone who you think is the right choice based on what you know, go for it. Your vote is your vote. Just make sure you vote. It's like in the United States. Like, I know right now there's a really big campaign for people to go out and vote. Like, seriously, go out and vote. Your vote counts. Your vote matters. Let's see here. Let's see, James. It's not about everyone being rich. It is about organizing as a society. So that's the most vulnerable of our communities are cared for, elderly children, etc. It's about buen vivir for working class. I mean, I have no problem with capitalism based on what I understand of it. My problem becomes when there's not more regulation, when there's not more like control over what things are like. Like, businesses should be allowed to do what they have to do, like to be creative and you know, have free reins on what they need to do, of course with regulation. But when it comes to taxes, I still always find it unfair that the people like me are taxed, and like we have to pay our taxes and everything, but rich people aren't. That's where my problem becomes conflicting with what I understand of capitalism. Of course, I could be wrong, but this is what I understand. Like, when taxes aren't fair for people who have big businesses and have more money and can afford to pay these taxes. You know, I'm still waiting for my tax refund that I sent an application for in March. And I don't think I'm even going to see it until sometime next year, when I have already filed for my next tax refund. And I'm still paying taxes. Let's see here. I know you don't want to endorse any candidates, and I agree. I do the same. However, you could talk about the candidates and where they stand on the issues. They will still vote conscious. I think I'm going to organize a live stream with Luis to do that. Luis of Ecuador, because I think that he has a better perspective on that than I do. And together we can give our thoughts and opinions based on what we see. Let's see here. So, oopsies, I got noticed. Dylan, Inami said that it's not going to rain for at least 3 weeks. Shit's going to get worse before it gets better. Cuenca is vanilla, respectfully, and cold. In Ecuador, we will vote whether we want the government to fix the issues or to do nothing and blame Korea for another 4 years. Like I said, I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I have no guarantees. There are no guarantees because people promise a lot of things and yet they don't always do them. So it's hard to say if something is going to change or not, if it's going to change for the better, how much better is it going to change for? So we just have to wait and see what happens. We vote for what we think is right, and then afterwards, we live with our decision. What I don't like sometimes is the change in positions that aren't right. All right, so let's see if we can watch Luis of Ecuador's videos. Dylan, it's not promises with correísmo. Ya lo hicimos. Like I said, if that's what you feel and if that's what you think, excellent. Let's hope it happens. I will hold you on that word if correísmo wins. Kent, hello, how's it going? Let's take a look at Luis's video really quick, just to have fun with looking at the situation in Cuenca. I wonder if I can show it without it completely lagging out. There's volume. I don't know if it's going to be heard because of
the city of Cuenca. This is the peak hour. Kids are coming out from the schools. Cars are going back to their homes and all of that. And I'm here to talk about a situation happening in all of Ecuador, not only in Cuenca.
So I don't know if you guys can hear or see what's happening in the video. Can you hear his video? Excellent news. I really enjoy when you and Luis team up. He's been quiet for a while, but just posted a new video. I love this video from Luis. Like, he shows the situation over here in Cuenca. And like, when I look at the video, just by looking at the Cuenca itself, it looks so nice and clean, so organized. And that's what I always love about seeing Cuenca.
Not only in the...
By the way, can you hear him and like, can you hear me like at the same time? We saw it. Excellent. I'm glad you watched this video. And if you haven't subscribed to Luis, please go ahead and do so.
Andes in the Amazon coast. Well, except in Galapagos, because
that was actually, now that he mentions here the Amazon, that's actually something that I want to mention as well. A lot of people in my comments as well, they had mentioned that no, because I think I'd made a mention of climate change that has like made the drought happen. And people are like, no, climate change isn't a thing. Climate change isn't real. Global warming is fake. And I'm like, there was a picture, and I couldn't find it before I made this stream, but there was a picture of the Amazon and like how messed up it is, like how empty the river is. Yeah, I'm gonna link the video for sure. I already linked it in my community tab, but I will link it again because I just love this video. His video was great. It's a bit choppy. Yeah, it's because it's not, yeah, I don't have a good enough computer to show it. So since we can't probably watch it here at nice quality, I'll just leave it at that. I left the link in the chat so you can check out the video when you have some time. But I did want to check. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. The picture of the Amazon, because it looked really, really bad in the picture. And people were saying, like, stop blaming past politicians, or stop saying that climate change doesn't exist. It is a thing. Let's see if I can find it. Give me a second. Give me a second. Searching. There was also this meme, Doc Octavius, like, turn it off, Otto. And he's like, don't worry, it's going to stabilize. And he's talking about using the mazar when it's like about to die because it's in terrible shape. You know what? I'm going to have to search. Son. Let me see if I put culpar. No, I'm not finding it. I'm just gonna have to search in the feed, but I can't find it. There was a picture of the Amazon. It was just dry, super dry, and it looked terrible. And there's like a comparison picture of that as well. Like, compare what it was before and what it is now, and it looks. We gotta stop blaming things that make no sense to blame. Let me see here. I'm gonna try one more time to check. If I don't find it, then it's okay. It's okay. I can't believe I just saw this like 2 days ago. Why can't I find it? Yeah, I can't find it. Okay, it's fine. It's a bit choppy. It's an interesting video. It is. I just watched Louis' video yesterday. I can hear you and him. That's great, but don't worry. I'm not gonna show it right now again because I realize that the connection is it's gonna be choppy, and that's not worth it. So, anyways, a lot of people who I saw, there were not a lot of people. There were comments of people saying that no, it's not just, what do you call it? It's not climate change. It's not global warming. That doesn't exist. And I'm like I saw the picture of the Amazon River, and I'm like, have you seen the Amazon? Let's stop trying to ignore the fact that this is actually a problem and acknowledge it for what it is, a problem. Let's see here. I also feel like I wanted to check out one more thing. Oh, I did want to mention something that I saw, very separate from this, and I know very off topic from what we were just talking about. But Living Loving Abroad, Stephen LaShawn recently talked about the situation with Amazon. I don't know if anyone knew, but Amazon was giving these $5 deals to people here in Ecuador, where you could order things from Amazon and they would cost $5. Like, you could order 10 things from Amazon and that whole delivery would cost you $5. And I thought that was awesome. But yeah, that deal is over. So for anyone who was using that deal or was hoping to snag that deal, maybe now that it's going to be Black Friday soon, I think. Yeah, it's over. And I kind of feel like it makes sense that it was going to end like soon, because it was, I think it was probably hard for them to maintain this deal. And from what I understand, it was a deal that started because of Temu, whatever you want to call them, because they were like taking business from Amazon. So, well, it was nice while it lasted. James, $1,000 bet that the oligarchy in Ecuador has electricity 24 hours every day, non-interrupted. That's the news from La Isla Mocoli, or Mocoli. Yeah, I saw a lot of people complaining about that as well. Like, the government obviously doesn't care or doesn't know, or they feel like they don't care or they don't know, because they don't have to go through the blackouts. Everyone else is over here suffering with blackouts, but the government is like, we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal, when they're not going through any blackouts at all. So, wonder if it's around here. I keep trying to find that image, but I feel like I'm just wasting my time. Where's that image? There was another meme where Godzilla coming to destroy Ecuador, but can't destroy Ecuador because there's nothing to destroy, and it shows Godzilla crying. I'll probably share that image into my community tab because I thought it was funny. I can't believe I can't find that image. But yeah, that's about all the information that I can really give in regards to the situation right now in Ecuador. Once again, I really don't think that the situation, well, I didn't mention that earlier, but I don't think the situation is going to magically get better like today, tomorrow, even next week. I have no idea when the situation is actually going to get better. I'm just hoping that it gets better before it gets worse. I'm concerned about tomorrow, the possibility of there being a 20-hour blackout, because, I mean, 16 hours is already annoying and tough. 20 hours is just unbearable. So I do have that concern. I just don't know if that's what's going to happen or not. But I don't know. If you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like to talk about now, please let me know so we can discuss it while we're still here. Let me see here if there's any comments or questions. Luis showed the El Rio Tomebamba. It's almost all rocks now, barely any water. Yes, I did see that. It's not the Amazon, I know, but I wanted to show the Amazon because that one looked even worse. I mean, if you just see rocks in that river in Cuenca, if you looked at the Amazon, like you look at it before and it was all greenery. And now you look at it and it's like, there's like, you can see the dirt that's under the water. And it was pretty crazy. Let's see here. Some people here on the coast cannot even afford to buy candles, and yeah, and they want us to buy $20 rechargeable light bulbs. Pretty crazy. Let's see here. Yeah, 20 hours might as well be 24. I really don't know in a 20-hour blackout schedule where you would distribute 4 hours. If you distribute them 1 hour here, 1 hour here, 1 hour here, and 1 hour here, that would be annoying because for you to have power for an hour, I mean, yeah, a lot of people might say you can do a lot in an hour, but I've had those outage schedules and sitting there for an hour, like the hour goes by like that. If you put them all together, like where would you put it for it to make sense? Oh, man, it's stressful. James, the situation will turn desperate and the people will support privatization of the energy sector, and then magically everything will begin to work again at a premium, of course, money. It might be the solution at this point. I'm really not sure. I really, really, really want things to get better, and I'm not sure what the solution is. I wish that previous governments would have done a better job at taking care at the plants that we already had, maintaining them. Leave aside your pride and just fix the plants that Correa left us. But no, they didn't do that, so we are where we are. I'm not sure if things are going to change, of course, though, based on that. Like, because now with Toachi Pilaton in process of getting fixed, and apparently more power coming in 2025, it really does feel like it going into the idea that this is politically motivated, and and the government was waiting for this moment in order to just fix things at the very last minute. I hope that's not the case, but it's feeling like that every time. Jairus, it is better to do things in blocks so people can recharge things. As long as the blocks are long enough for it to, like, in 4 hours. Monia, lifts in tall buildings do not work during outages. If you mean by elevators, depends. Most buildings should have generators. Like I said, bigger buildings, government buildings have power, and I don't know if that's because they have generators or because they just have power, because they're government buildings, but they should. Smaller buildings, I've seen that they don't have it, but bigger buildings do. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. If not, also please make sure to like and subscribe once again. Helps out a ton. If you want to support the channel, don't forget, you can become a member or you can leave a dono. I always appreciate it. It helps out a ton. Global politics breaking news. People will lose their food and stuff will spoil. As for privatization, I heard months ago that Noboa was going to let energy sector go to private companies and no government funding. I did also hear about the privatization of the energy um, plants, but I don't know if it's true, but I think Topic also talked about that a bit, saying that he wasn't going to allow the power to go out. I don't know if he's already got a plant in place or is planning to make a plant if he becomes president, but there is that. Jairus, yeah, I was saying if they turn off the lights for 20 hours, it's best to just do a 4-hour block with energy. Yeah, I would definitely appreciate that a lot more than trying to split my time into 1-hour slots. Jairus, I hope they don't do this though, because I teach online and I'll be screwed. Oh man, I feel for you. I feel for you. Anyone who's a digital nomad right now, it must be really hard to teach with this kind of situation. Or to do your work in general. The planning and announcements have been awful. The night before they talk about 1416 outages, no chance for companies and people to make any contingencies. It is really, really bad. And that's that they promised to be more communicative, although that was the last energy minister. I guess this one might not do the same thing. Julia, the power will cut in any moment. Thanks, Ace, for your good work. Have a good day. Have an excellent day, Julia. I'm sorry that the power has to go out for you today. And for everyone else who's losing power, I'm sorry that you have to go through that. It shouldn't be that way, but it is, unfortunately. If there are no further questions, though, I do think we can leave the stream there. Yeah, I told them they were cowards for doing that at 2 a.m. I was so mad. It's normal to be mad. It's actually the contrary of normal to not be upset about the situation. That's why those comments that say like, "Oh, it's not so bad," I'm like, are we living in the same Ecuador? Sometimes I'm very confused because a lot of people want me to just like sit back here and take it and like just be like, oh yeah, it's not bad. Let's lie to the people. Let's tell everyone it's okay. You don't need power. Racing Ape, thank you for the update. Thank you for being here and tuning into this update. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Not just you, Racing Ape, but everyone who is here. If you'd like to support the channel, once again, I appreciate everyone who supports through a donation or super chat or becoming a member. It helps out a ton. I am still answering questions before we leave. If you don't have any questions, then that is okay. Please make sure to check out Lewis's video if you haven't already. Definitely, if you want to look through the Reddit for Ecuador, also look through that because sometimes you can find interesting things on there that you might not be able to find in other places. I would also say you can look up information on X, but there's so much toxicity that you might come out traumatized after you spend some time on X. James, thanks Ace. Viva Manaví. Viva Manaví y su capital. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, James. Jairus, thank you. Thanks for the channel and all the info. You're a good egg. I'm always happy to help. I hope you're having a great time, Jairus, and I hope that you can give your classes. I know how that feels as a fellow teacher. Ken, gracias, que tengas un buen día. Have an excellent day. Ten un excelente día. RM, would it be possible to send you a generator? I know that doesn't solve others. Send a generator? I mean, that would be great, but that is really hard to do. Sending a generator is tough. You can send a donation that could help me get a generator or get something, but generators are expensive and I would not want you to have to like spend on that much. Like if you're willing to help out a little bit and pitch in, I really appreciate it. Where is the donation link? Let me send that right now. I always forget that I don't put that in the description anymore. This is YouTube rant again because they say if you put things like that in the description, it's gonna affect your video. So I just try to avoid putting some things in the description just because I never know if it's going to help or if it's going to be detrimental to my video's performance. But here I'll leave the link to buy me a coffee. I don't remember where you can find the link to become a member on YouTube. DM is YouTube membership. I don't know if yeah, typically when you want to donate directly on YouTube, you just have to send a super chat, or you can just I think on the bottom of the screen there's like an option to send something. But if you want to go through Buy Me a Coffee, you can send it through there. That way YouTube doesn't take such a big cut and it goes more directly to me. Someone a few streams ago sent me money through Amazon. They sent me an Amazon gift card so that I can buy things on Amazon. Just that also means that I have to find a way to send things, which reminds me, I am still planning on making that video comparing two different delivery services in Ecuador. You have a PayPal. I do have a PayPal, actually. Juancho, thanks for the stream. Gracias por la transmisión. Gracias a ti. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. I'm sorry for my butchered Spanish. I realize that I'm not the best at Spanish, so I do apologize for that. Let me see. I do have a PayPal. I just don't remember what I can do on PayPal, because PayPal acts kind of special. Yeah, hold up. I'm gonna have to, please let me know if the camera cuts out, because, oh wait, I think I sent that. No, it's in WhatsApp. Give me 1 second. Please don't cut out the camera. Let me see if the camera cut out. No, it did not. Thank goodness. I thought the camera was gonna cut out. There we go. I had to look for the link. I had a feeling the camera would cut out. It's because I'm doing it on the other phone, so I figured the camera would end up cutting out eventually. But I think it should be back in a bit because I put it back. I'm literally going to Guayaquil next Wednesday. Kyrie, please be careful in Guayaquil. I hope you have an excellent time. Guayaquil could be a lot better, but it definitely could be a lot worse. Abundanza, thank you very much for all your valuable information. You're welcome. I hope you had an excellent time here today as well. I know giving news isn't always going to equal up to an excellent time, but sometimes being informed is a very good thing to save you from headaches later on in the future. So yeah, there's Buy Me a Coffee. There's PayPal. Of course, if you want to support me on YouTube itself, you can become a member. On Buy Me a Coffee, you can also become a member. I also have different tiers if that's something that interests you. Please, if anything, the one thing that I ask for the most is for your good wishes for Ecuador, and also if you know people who could use this content. By the way, hello Ryan. Please send it to them. Let's try to make the channel grow so that maybe I'll be part of that lucky situation where I won't have to worry so much, and I might be able to help others. But it's like something that my uncle said. It's very hard to help others when you can't help yourself. So yeah, thank you everyone who made it to the stream. For everyone who watches the replay, I'm sorry it was so long, but there was a lot to talk about. And yeah, we will be talking as soon as we have another thing that we have to talk about. I would love to do weekly or every other week streams. I think it's bi-weekly streams, but I just don't want to waste people's time. I know a lot of people say that these live streams are a waste of time, but I don't feel that way. I feel like there's a different connection you get by being able to interact directly with everyone who's here. So I appreciate you. Oh, sorry, hiccups don't exist. I appreciate you for being here. So yeah, Kyrie, my only worry is being connected to my family here in the United States. Don't worry. Make sure everyone has WhatsApp, and you'll be able to communicate just fine. If you have a phone, you can watch there. You can send each other messages through there. The lovely thing about technology nowadays, except for the power outages, that makes it tough. So yeah, Ryan, thanks for checking out the replay later. Take care, everyone, and we will talk soon, hopefully. And also, don't forget, encebollado. If you ever come to Ecuador, eat encebollado. Bye, everyone.